Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
The NBA playoffs are here, and I'm getting my bets in on FanDuel. Talk to me, Chuck GPT. What do you know?
All sorts of interesting stuff, even Charles Barkley's greatest fear.
Hey, nobody needs to know that.
New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
21 plus and present in select states.
Must be first online real money wager. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to know what my opening script is. I don't even remember how I start our podcast. I got this. Ready?
He knows what he's doing.
I know what I'm doing. We're professionals here. We may live over 5,000 miles from Lincoln Financial Field, but what we lack in proximity, we make up for in film study. And each and every week, we'll be bringing you in-depth film breakdowns from across the pond and the Sooner State. Welcome to On the Shane Page. I am your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. I am joined by BGN's own film guru, Jonny Page. Give him a follow on Twitter at JohnnyPage9. Jonny, how are you doing this evening?
I was on mute, which is a good start. Man, this is weird, Shane. Patreon guys going to think what the hell's going on. So we have just recorded a couple of games of Andrew Mukuba film, which watching a safety is horrendous at times. And if you've never actually watched a safety play the whole game of an All-22, it is sort of painful. So the whole idea of this is just, I guess, to give a summary. If you want to actually go and watch the games, get on Patreon. I haven't really sold those two games.
That's great advertising.
That's the worst advertising ever. But you have to watch them because you do learn a lot. I learned a lot. I mean, I wish I learned a lot in half the time, but I learned it. And I can promise the listeners that when we watch like Ty Robinson film or Mac McWilliams or Carl McCall or Smile Mondon or whatever you pronounce it, that will be very different because I've watched some Ty Robinson game. Oh my goodness, is he fun. But we're not here to talk Ty, are we, Shane? We're not here to talk Ty. So very short podcast this week. Hopefully going to get something in the pipeline for next week. A lot more interesting with a wonderful guest. But we have already spoken about Mukuba. We've done scouting reports on Mukuba. I've written about Mukuba, the BGM. Loads of Mukuba stuff out there. But I would like to say that maybe a lot of people talking and writing about Mukuba, have they gone back and watched multiple All-22 games? Maybe so. I do think you learn a little bit. So what do you want to do? Just get into like big pitch takeaways?
Yeah, so we watched Andrew Mukuba against Michigan, which was the second game of the year. Very run-heavy team. Mm-hmm. And then we watched him play against Georgia in the middle to late part of the year, which was a lot more pass-heavy team. And we did a lot of making fun of college offenses on the film as well, because that's kind of atrocious. But we did get 2 full games of Mukuba in. Like Jonny said, we got dinged with some stuff on YouTube with all college All-22 film last week. So no film clips for the public feed this week. However, the 2 full games of us watching along and talking, it's about 25 or so minutes each game is in the Patreon. So go join our Patreon, patreon.com/ontheshanepage. In our $5 a month tier, you can get a 1-week free trial. You can watch both of them. Stick around. We're going to be doing this for all the other draft picks too, but we wanted to get some reactions to what we had seen out in the public feed, even though there's no film clips. So let's dive in. And I think the first thing that stuck out to me, because again, Michigan was really run heavy, is how quickly he triggers downhill against the run. And he's not going to make like your splash plays, blowing up Alvin Kamara on 4th and 1 at the line of scrimmage like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson did. But I do think he triggers downhill really quickly against the run. And he's aggressive, but I know he had like a 14.5% missed tackle rate. I didn't really see. I think there was one missed tackle we saw in the 2 games that we watched. He was a solid tackler, and so it did make me feel better about his tackling ability.
It was the way he tackled as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, he wrapped up, and there was one in the Georgia game where it's a running back full head of steam in the open field, which we didn't see a lot. And he initially knocks him back at contact, and the guy ends up falling forwards, but he wraps him up and brings him down, and that's really important for a safety. So I was impressed with his ability as a tackler and his trigger downhill in the run game.
Yeah, I think it was a weird one, though, because you'd say that you mentioned this. His average depth of tackle is very low, isn't it? He's not like, I think Jonty Garner-Johnson had like about 7 or 8 plays last year where he's like right over the line of scrimmage, like hitting the guy. Like, I don't think Mukuba is that type. I think the more you watch him, he's very efficient coming downhill, and I think he can absolutely do a job, but he's not a game changer in that regard. But the athleticism, and I'll touch on my first takeaway, which you sort of highlighted there, is just the sheer movement traits. I know he didn't test particularly well in terms of RAS testing, but I know a lot of that is because of his size. And RAS testing does obviously play a role because of the fact he's so light. I think he ran like a 4.6 or 4.46, not a 4.6. That would be a problem. I think he ran a 4.46 40, but he looks really, really smooth. Yes. He looks sort of extremely agile, extremely fluid. We didn't get to see too many man coverage reps, which is a shame. But he looked very comfortable in the intermediate area, especially taking crossing routes on the other side of the formation, which I think he'll do a lot of. I think just in general, the traits are obvious in terms of the movement skills. And we saw a couple of exceptionally good plays on the ball, like some of the hands, some of the way he can break up passes, not just interceptions. We saw a fantastic break up in the middle of the field. I think you saw that the movement skills, the ability to find the football, they're the things that the Eagles are going to really, really like more than anything. The way he moves, the way he picks up routes. Trying to get into a bit more of the coverage stuff because it was quite unique, wasn't it?
One more thing on the athleticism. You mentioned it being smooth. Some of his size impacted his RAS score negatively, but he also had really bad agilities. His shuttle and his 3-cone were both below 50th percentile, which surprises me because I think he looks really smooth on film. So I don't know what was going on with that testing, but I thought he looked not just fast in a straight line, but I thought he looked really smooth as well. But yeah, the coverage. So looking at the coverage, and again, coverage is always hard. Jonny and I have watched a lot of Fangio, and so we can say with a lot of confidence when like something is wrong, it was probably this guy that messed up because we just understand how the defense is supposed to work. I have no idea what Texas was doing some of the time on defense. Like there were definite coverage busts, and there was a lot of busts around Andrew Mukuba and a specific corner at number 7, whoever that was for Texas.
Yeah.
I don't know who was at fault for a lot of those. A lot of them, and of course this could be bias that I want it to be not the guy the Eagles drafted, but a lot of them it would make sense to me if it was the corner's responsibility, not the safeties. But I don't know that for certain. And so we can just say there were some busts around Mukuba that we're not sure whose fault they were because we're not sure how Texas is teaching some of that stuff.
Yeah, if you're on the Patreon and you watch the film, I think that was probably the most interesting, I say worrying takeaway, man. It's like, it's hard because All-22 is watching safeties is hard in a defense that you don't specialize in. And to be honest, watching safeties in general was tough. There are plays where Mukuba didn't cover vertical and he just let guys run past him to sort of come downhill quicker. And there were sometimes I was like, that's definitely not his fault. But there was one in particular I remember when it looked to me like the corner was telling him exactly that the guy was going vertical. The corner was always making it pretty clear, like, I'm not carrying this dude. And I think Mukuba was more interested in jumping the short stuff. I think maybe that suggests like a tiny, tiny bit, maybe aggressiveness in coverage, which again, you could say is a good thing, Shane, because the college quarterbacks was useless and they were never throwing deep on him. But yeah, it was interesting. He seemed to me to be really, really good in the intermediate to short game. Like anything they tried to high-low him, if they tried to run like a slant flat, if they tried to run like an in and an out and he was in the middle, I thought his depth was really good. His understanding of how to get enough depth to take away the throw over his head, but still be in a position to trigger downhill was really good. And there was a great example of this in the first game we watched where he made sure the ball couldn't go over his head. waited till the QB was about to throw it, then triggered downhill quickly and knocked the ball out in the short game. Where he had issues was like there was a scissors concept. So a post will, and it looked pretty clear to me that he should take the post because the outside corner was taking the will, and he just didn't really get out on time. And again, I appreciate we're doing this as a bit of a different podcast this week where we haven't gone through the film. And for those of you that get a chance to watch it, you'll see it a lot better. I do really, really recommend if you get the chance watching all 22 of these players because you'll see what I mean. That was the first game, the post will, wasn't it? And it looked to me like he was too deep. And I think at times he was a little bit slow to read things out as a deep player. And I am speculating here, Shane, but this is a guy that has played a lot of slot cornerback in his career and probably therefore feels very, very comfortable in the nickel, in the flat. He's probably very comfortable in that intermediate area. I think the area that I would be interested in seeing him develop, and if I'm looking at him next year, is when he's the deep safety. So when he's a single high safety. When he's playing quarters and they're running like 4 verts at him, like I think the over the head stuff, I would target him. I think when he's playing with the game in front of him, I think he looked really, really good in the 2 games in that intermediate zone. But I wouldn't just naturally say, Eagles have got their single high safety. Reed Blankenship, get ready to drop down more. I think his role will be interesting. I think there's a bit of a learning curve. I think he's very smart and he's very instinctive and he understands passing concepts. And there's a guarantee that he'll step in from day one, I think, for a lot of people and instantly start. But I think there's going to be a bit of a learning curve there that maybe people have to give him a little bit of patience with. It could have been that the corner sucked and he made the coverage bust every single time. But there was definitely plays where the two of them didn't seem in sync, shall we say.
Do you know that, by the way, I just looked this up. Do you know the name of the cornerback, the number 7 that he kept having issues with?
You're going to tell me with. Who is it?
Is that Jade Barron, who was drafted in the first round by the Broncos?
That was really Barron? Was it out there? Wow, it's amazing how you have such tunnel vision because I loved Barron, but I also wouldn't play him there. It doesn't surprise me that they had issues because I'm not sure Barron's an outside corner. I'm not sure Mukuba was where he was in those plays as well. So it doesn't surprise me. Yeah, Barron's awesome. I absolutely love this film. I've got such tunnel vision because I didn't even consider. I was so focused on Mukuba.
That just popped into my head after I was talking about it. I was like, I bet that was Barron because I think he was. I was like, I think he was a single-digit number, and I'm going to go look it up now. But
yeah, he's also not a player that, in my opinion, is an outside corner. Maybe they got each other's way a little bit. Like who knows? I think they're both nickels at the next level. Arguably both safeties at the next level. And I think that would be the thing for me. I think that was the big takeaway. I think from the positive side was how good he was in the intermediate stuff. I think that was top. I think when we talk tricks coverage, Eagles Eric put out he's doing a wonderful series at the moment on Twitter of some of the Fangio concepts, and he put one out on tricks, which was really good the other day. And he spoke about, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, find this Twitter because you can see it easier. But long story short, when the offense is 3-by-1 and you are the backside safety, you essentially come across anything that's crossing from the free receiver side so you can help take any crossing routes. That's probably the simplest way I can describe it. And I think he'll be very good at that. I think he'll be very, very good at carrying stuff across the field. I think as I said, he's very comfortable with dealing with crossing routes. I think the other thing we just didn't get a chance to see was any man coverage.
We saw a little bit.
He looked very fluid at it, but there was one rep where Loveland sort of pushed him off him. And I had a feeling that, I think big tight ends, long arms, big slots, I think he'll struggle in man coverage against them. So I think, like it's hard to not do that when you're as small as you are.
But by the same token, he did have a good one against Loveland where he ends up making the catch on a scramble drill, high pointing it, which of course, but he was with him. And he had another interesting one against Georgia where it was a 3rd and 8. And he basically just planted at the marker. And the guy ended up just running a curl anyways to the sticks, but I wish it would have been like a vertical route so we could have seen if he would be able to recover after sitting on the sticks and it went vertical. But I think there's some promising things from man coverage. Like you mentioned the intermediate stuff and the crossers. He was really good at that. I questioned if it would be problematic, like how quickly he triggers against the run against play action teams. And he actually got an interception off of that against Georgia on one where he probably did bite too hard on the play action, but he recovered and knew exactly where the ball was going to go. So some good instincts there. A lot of usage that doesn't translate. Like he was responsible for a flat a lot. And I just don't think you're going to see the Eagles do that a lot because they run a lot of split field coverages. And you're not going to see him rotating into the flat very often, I wouldn't think. But interesting couple of games. And like I said, I mean, college All-22 is super hard to find. And so if you want to check out the actual All-22, we narrated through 2 games of it. And that stuff's hard to find. $5 a month, free 1-week trial. You can get that for him, for Jihad Campbell, and we're going to be doing this for the other draft picks too. So if
Ty Robertson is going to be a really good discussion because I've said it a few times. He's a fascinating player. I think just in general, safeties are really tough. I think what's interesting is my gut tells me that the Eagles want stability more than maybe highlight reel players at safety, and I think Jonty Gardner-Johnson is capable of the special. I think Mukuba is going to be a bit more of a steady player. I think the catch point, Mukuba is just as good, if not better. But he's not going to do the 4th and 1 Bijan. Was it Bijan Robinson last year? Like head down and he forces him back for a tackle for loss. Like you're going to see a very different style.
I had in my head that was Alvin Kamara, but it was one of those two.
Yeah, there might have been someone, but there was a couple, wasn't there? He wasn't alone in that. But I think it doesn't take long to watch him to see why the Eagles are intrigued by him. I do think the interesting thing is whether they line him up in the slot a little bit as well. You've got a lot of flexibility now with Cooper DeJean and Mukuba. I do wonder if they do a little bit of like post-snap rotation and have DeJean drop a little bit deeper and Mukuba maybe come down and play the flat, for example. I think it enables you to do certain things. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Eagles target safeties who have slot experience. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson himself, of course, was a slot corner.
So that's kind of some of our thoughts, a little more specific to Mukuba. Jonny, any final thoughts about the Mukuba film that you want to get out there?
That I haven't said. I think his tackling from the All-22 made me feel better about that. I think the problem with highlight reels is you just see the big hits and you think that's how he always plays. Obviously, when you watch full games, you get an idea. But when you're All-22, you can see his like tempo. You can see him pacing. He's not like charging downhill. You don't see him hit like after the play, except once when he got injured, but that was not really his fault. I think he knows the size he is, and I think he knows how to sort of manage his body. And hopefully that will enable him to stay healthy next year.
He does not play with the reckless abandon that Sidney Brown does.
He does not.
He's aggressive downhill, but he's controlled, I think. And so
he will not hit like Sidney Brown does either, though.
Yeah.
So you win some, you lose some. But yeah, stability wise, I think he's very safe.
Yeah, I think he's going to be your starting safety week 1 when it rolls around, especially if they don't go sign someone. There's no chance Sidney Brown beats him out for the job.
Yeah, I think you roll the punches. I think you'll get done a few times, but I think you, as I said, you take the hits.
Yeah. So there you have it. Guy that's going to excel in those intermediate, those crosser things. Yep. And I think he can do man coverage. The last thing I wanted to mention is I thought when Texas used him as single high, he was way too passive and deep.
Yes. Yeah.
But that might be one of those things where Texas was telling him to do that. And I think that's pretty easily correctable because he's got a lot of speed and you want to trust that and get connected to routes. Sometimes like there was only one route threatening his area and he would still be like 10 yards off behind it, looking at things on the sideline. And so I don't know if that's not trusting his eyes, if he's being told to play that way, but I would like to see him tighten up on some of those routes as that post safety. But we'll see.
Agree.
I think that's something that's pretty easily correctable coaching wise, if that's just not what he was being told to do by Texas.
Yeah, no, bang on. I agree. It's so hard watching safety film, especially when you're not sure exactly how they're being coached. And I think the Eagles will know a lot more than us. They'll have questions and stuff. They can ask their staff if they're unsure about the coverage bust. But yeah, if you can get a chance, even if you just join Patreon for a month, see what's up there, see if you like it. We're up to about 250 members now, but Discord's awesome. But the video stuff, we're going to have a lot more of it. So even if you only do it for another month, get the draft content, just have a go.
Yeah. So come hang out with us in the Patreon. Those 2 games, one of them's up now. One of them will be up tomorrow, but you can come check those out and support all of our other work. And other than that, we will see you guys next time. Think we might be trying to bring on a guest next week. So it might be 2 weeks before we get to Ty Robinson, but regardless, you guys will know when we do. We'll post a a recap episode in the public feed. And of course, the All-22 will be in the Patreon. So we hope to see you guys there. We'll catch you next time.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car right in your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.